Hello, everybody. Welcome again to Chudster and Vlad's Mayhem from the 80s, and we're actually coming to the present time now.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's 80s mayhem with Chudster and Vlad.
Yes.
Good to see everybody again.
Welcome. We're here to talk about something that, spoiler alert, okay? Don't go beyond this video if you actually want to.
We will be spoiling this shit out of this movie.
Exactly. And essentially, it is Supergirl.
Yes.
It's out in the movies now. Essentially starring Milly Alcock.
Yeah.
Who really does shine, but we're going to be going into it, and I'm going to give a brief history about the character itself and how it evolved really quick, the different mediums that it's taken on in film and TV, and we're going to give our output, and we're going to basically just give our overall synopsis. Overall, I love this movie. I
knew you were going to say that, Joe.
And I stand by it, and I'm proud of it, and I'm actually going to say that, yeah, it was good. It was really good. I will even say that it was probably even better than Superman in certain respects. The one that we had last year. And I'm also going to say that we're really starting to see how the studios are trying to mold the characters and mutate them in a way that money isn't always going to dictate. But first off, what we're going to do is I'm going to start with just a history of the character itself. Okay, and then we're going to go more into pretty much our view of it, okay? Supergirl's first appearance, I believe, was in a story of Superboy. I think that was Action Comics number 156 back in 1951. And it was a character that was very much like that, female with superpowers. But then Supergirl, that we've all known, first appeared as an alternate universe story. And I believe it was kind of a non-canon story. And she essentially just appeared based on a wish that Jimmy Olsen wishes based on a magic totem to help Superman, only for her to be
a one-wish willow, Joe?
Kind of. I guess you could say that. But this is probably something that, as a one-wish willow, it has the same effect with Superman that it did with the recent film, with the recent characters in that movie. And then later on, I think her first official publication was Action Comics number 252. And that was essentially her appearance with the background with Kryptonians colonizing from Earth and everything like that, and her relation to Superman, Kara, basically, and everything in between. And then the first film variation that we saw was in 1984, and that was from Alan and Ilya Salskin when they broke away with a spin-off series that starred Helen Slater and Faye Dunaway, and even Peter O'Toole.
Peter O'Toole was in it too.
Peter O'Toole as her father. And essentially, that didn't really do as well as expected. Christopher Reeve was supposed to make an appearance to probably back it and give it some kind of padding. That didn't really happen. And essentially, it only made half of its budget. Peter O'Toole and Faye Dunaway, basically, their performances were panned. I watched it last night. I'll have a little bit about that later on. I thought it was okay. You know, that was my first experience knowing about who Supergirl was, aside from DC Comics and the 100-page publications, which used to go back and tell or reprint Silver Age stories, and that's how I came to know all about this. But her first appearance that I actually knew in the comics was in this publication I had actually said before.
Wow.
And this is actually when DC Comics started with the greatest stories ever told. ... greatest stories ever told. I've shown this before. And that actually has the whole story with Superman number 123 back in 1958. The story with the totem and everything like that. But, essentially, there was also a Supergirl TV series that was in 2015. And it starred Melissa Benoist. Now, if I'm getting the pronunciation wrong, just leave a comment in the comment section just to basically let us know. Essentially, that was for like about 6 seasons up until, I believe, November of 2021. And it was mixed reviews. I never seen it, to tell you the truth.
Same here.
The only variation from Supergirl from that was in the animated series, Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, which included kind of a spin-off story with a couple of episodes dedicated to her and true to the mythology of DC Comics. And essentially now we have the meat and potatoes of our show, and that is Supergirl 2026, which we have both seen.
Yes.
And there are a couple of things that I have that are very interesting to say about that movie. But we're going to start with you, Vlad. I want to hear what you had to say about this movie. I want you to give me your input and just give me an insight on what could have been better or worse.
I had a lot of problems with this movie.
Sure.
But I will say I really liked Milly Alcock in it, who plays Kara, Supergirl. And it's a shame because they put her in a lackluster movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's great in the movie. She's in a bad movie. And it's sad that, like, it's lost a lot of money at the box office, that we won't see her in a Supergirl 2. We'll see her in Man of Tomorrow, the Superman sequel that's coming out, and all these gods and monsters. She'll make appearances, and she'll do great in that. But she deserved a better movie. The fans deserved a better movie. Supergirl deserved a better movie.
From my perspective, it's from somebody that has been reading DC Comics since he was like maybe 8 or 9 years old.
Right.
And I don't really want people to think that, you know, it's just from that because it's DC Comics. It's not. I'm not carrying water for the studio.
Yeah. You're not getting swag from the studio for a good review, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not really about that. I mean, for me, I actually am at a point right now where if it really is bad, like let's say Jonah Hex, the movie, that sucked. We deserved a better Jonah Hex. Morbius, I guess we deserved a better movie concerning that. You know, so I will say why that didn't. So I'm not really pro Marvel or DCC, you know, and I know about these characters and like them, and I will say that sucked. But I really want you to basically flesh out what it is that could have been improved.
I thought the editing was poor. The pacing of the movie wasn't very good. There's that whole scene where they're on that ship and the space pirates are trying to attack the ship. I just thought it was just long and drawn out. And also, I didn't like the sidekick character, the girl. I thought the actress did a really good job, but the character was annoying. Her family gets killed by that guy, Krill, who's a great actor, Mateusz Schoenis. I probably said it wrong. He's in a movie called The Drop with Tom Hardy and James Gandolfini, one of my favorite films, which is also a movie about somebody that kills to protect their dog.
Right.
I thought that character, he was a low-rent Thanos. He was a thug, you know? I mean, and they're doing this kind of human trafficking in space. He sort of plays this intergalactic serial killer, I guess. She gets her family killed, which is terrible, but then she expects everybody to help her out. And there's one thing in the movie they don't address, Chudster, is that she's the one that leads the Krill character to Supergirl, in which Krypto gets that kryptonite dart. So it's her fault that Krypto is dying.
Right.
And Supergirl has to save him.
Right. Okay. Well, for one thing, she might have done that, but I don't think she intended it.
Well, no, of course not.
And, you know, the fact of the matter is...
But it's never brought up in the movie. Hey, well, the reason why I'm doing this is because of you.
You mean, you're talking about Eve Ridley's character?
Yeah.
Right.
She brought the bad guys to Supergirl, which shot the dart, the kryptonite dart, and something I loved when he called it Kryptonite Delight. That was awesome.
Right. But I don't really know if I'm going to really judge the character the same way, only because she was in a desperate situation. She saw her parents get killed, and in these kind of situations, you know, I don't really think that she was like, oh, I'm leading them to you because I want to get you involved, so I'm going to let this happen to you. First of all, being a former dog owner, this really hits home for me.
And a cat owner, yes.
You know, I mean, it really did. So, I mean, yeah, he may have seemed like a low-rent thug, but he was still a thug, and he also was a trafficker. So I think he played that as someone that was dissociated and just non-caring enough. And he showed enough disdain and disrespect for human life that he just didn't even care. He was like a nomad. And I thought in that respect, I feel he sold that. And this isn't really like because this is what happens in the comic books or whatever. That's the other thing that I really did like about this movie was that they really fleshed out the mythology of DC in a way that was off-world. And they even actually criticized Lobo's character as being the best thing. If anything, they didn't really show him that much, and I think it was just right, as a matter of fact, being a bounty hunter. Having a history in the DC universe, tracking down
Jason Momoa as Lobo.
Jason Momoa. And I thought he was great, and they didn't really show him enough that it took you out of the movie. And he even poses this kind of reality to Eve Ridley's character that makes her realize where she has to go. And I didn't really expect this to really have that kind of traction in the box office, because Supergirl is not a franchise that has been developed to the point where you had this expectation. And aside from the movie and the series and her appearances in the comic books, she's never been the central focus of Superman, even though in a lot of stories that we've read in the comic books and we've seen in the animated series, I thought she brought a lot to it. And I also think that the whole aspect of aliens, and I just love the whole thing with the bus and how that came through.
Well, it reminded me a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, it did.
Where, like, everybody was on the spaceship and there are these different worlds. It's almost like you took, like, the cantina scene from Star Wars and you made a whole world out of that.
Because don't forget that the whole alien universe being told from the point of view of someone reading a Superman comic book even predates Star Wars. There are a lot of stories that actually go back to the early 70s, the 50s, where he's in outer space.
Star Wars is like from like 1974 to 1976, and then they released 77. So yeah.
You know, it basically has like a whole lot of things that really kind of make it something that's like, you know, kind of, I guess you could probably say, like, you know, out of this world. It's something that, and I also felt that, you know, her origin story, because that was another thing that
I liked that part of the movie.
That's what I liked, and that was one thing that I heard somebody criticize, and I felt that it was just right, because it really told the city of Kandor. And, you know, basically at first I was thinking that, but then I looked back on my notes and I was like, yeah, that is. Because I always looked at it as a miniature city that he had in the Fortress of Solitude, Superman. And they were like miniatures. They evolved and morphed it into some small sector that knew what was going on, just like Kal-El's father. And they wound up doing something that seemed good at the time, but because of the fact that it was from the planet Krypton, it wasn't from the Earth's core, or it wasn't from Krypton's core, and yet that was their own demise. It was like the whole thing again. And here's another thing I loved about this movie. Another distinction that I really liked that distinguished Kara from Kal-El. Kal-El came to Earth as a baby and was raised on Earth, as opposed to Kara, who came as a young adult. So she had much more of an understanding of Krypton and the language and everything like that. So I think the transition and her and what she had to go through, and when you see her in the beginning, yeah, you're going to be self-conflicted. You know, and she was kind of I liked how she was like this pixie anti-hero in a lot of ways.
Well, she was old enough to know that she lost her parents.
Mm-hmm. Well, she was
Kal-El didn't know his parents,
right.
So she witnessed that.
Right.
Her mother dying, her father, like, you know, sending her off to Earth.
Exactly. I totally agree. And even when he actually meets her, Superman meets her when she comes to Earth. And
it was a funny scene. I like that scene.
It was. And I think that, who knows? I could probably agree with you in a sense that maybe the studio took hold of the production to a point where they didn't have enough confidence in the cast, and maybe they were trying to play catch up in a lot of ways. But for me, I just did not really see any flaws. I knew it wasn't going to really make that. The reason why I think it's not going to really it's going to barely make its budget is because Supergirl has not been a long-lasting franchise that has been recognized. Even though what people overlook is that there have been actresses who played the character, and it actually had been fleshed out within the comic book. And it seems like something that's more confined to people who probably do read it.
Yes, but you've got to say, you know, a good movie is a good movie and a bad movie is a bad movie.
Yeah, but I don't think this is a bad movie. That's the thing.
Right.
No, it's not a bad movie. I mean, it's just, maybe it's bad in the sense that it probably doesn't hit and check all the boxes of a major motion picture studio that has the expectations of a franchise that had been much more well known. But it's not a bad movie. I can't say that, because I could watch this again. I probably would go to the movie theaters and watch this again. I probably have to say that. Maybe she should have probably had her own movie, but
well, that's what I'm saying about all these characters. What we talked about last year with, the Superman movie, the reboot, it's like, why can't Superman just be Superman, have Superman in it?
Right.
And I get why they have these cast of characters, because you're selling this brand as DC Gods and Marvel, Gods and Monsters. So you want to put all these people in as cameos because then they have their own movie.
I felt that way about the first movie, but I felt that with this movie, it actually was okay that you actually had those characters, because she doesn't have the same kind of expectations that Superman has from the public, from the film viewing public.
And I like that, because he was like, mom and apple pie, truth, justice, and the American way. And she's like, truth, justice, and whatever.
Right.
And she is an anti-hero to an extent. And what I liked about her character was something that Jason Momoa does in Aquaman that was really annoying. Throughout the entire Aquaman movie, he's going like this. I'm not a hero. I'm nobody.
Right.
I'm not a hero. I'm not the guy. Right?
No, I agree.
But when he says that, he's saying it in a smug way. He is like I am the shit. And I'm not the guy. I'm no hero. But she does not see herself as a hero. So she's not walking around going, I'm no hero. I'm nobody. No, she just knows that she is who she is. And she's not trying to be like Superman.
No, exactly. I agree. I think the humor was just off the hook. I mean, I love the humor in the movie. I actually love just this kind of, going back to the kind of anti-hero aspect of her. She says, oh, this is not going to end very well, is it, for you? And then she basically, with those pirates, flies out to the sun. And I was like, man, it is on. It is totally on. And there was a certain savvy that she had, even though she was younger, that really makes me root for her continually. And
well, that's the thing, Joe. I did root for her.
Yeah.
But I didn't like the movie that she was in.
I understand.
So to speak.
And I totally understand.
Yeah.
I think from my standpoint, though, it's kind of like a magic place that you can kind of go to. I mean, in some ways, maybe they probably could have toned it down. It probably would have made more money for family audiences if they toned it down a little bit, I guess. But
well, I mean, her killing the main guy at the end is not for it's not family friendly, no.
Which is something I wanted to get into.
Yeah.
I actually really think that was a big distinguished difference between her and Kal-El.
Because Superman doesn't kill.
He would never do that. He would never
in any version.
And had this done a little better, and that would have actually been kind of maybe another subplot that he would have found. Superman could have been like, did you really kill him? Like, that could have been kind of a rift.
Well, she's not telling him that at all.
Of course not. But, in the movies, let's just say, as a plot device, he finds out. And let's just say he basically, that could be something that could be, and who knows, that could be something that could be a possibility. But with what this movie...
Well, let's talk about David Cornsweet's role in Supergirl.
Right. Well, some people may have said it was too excessive. Maybe he didn't even have to be in this movie. Maybe it kind of overwhelmed the production. I've heard criticisms about that. Me, I liked it because it distinguished their personality differences. And I think that offered something. I think that it really distinguished their personality differences. And in that respect, it made it very dynamic. I think that it offered something else interesting to think about as the story went on. I mean, she even refers to him as like a nerd, like she kind of like looks at him differently.
He kind of did look like a nerd in that role.
He did. I mean, he did. But I mean, I kind of like that because it reinforces the Boy Scout image. And he's always had that, Superman, being, like we said, American Pie, out on the farm, being that kind of...
And she's out for getting drunk.
Oh, yeah, a party girl.
Yeah.
And even the promos that I posted recently for other commercials, she's kind of like a fun girl, a city girl. You know what I mean? Someone that everybody would like to hang out with, I guess. That was the impression that I made. That's probably one of the reasons why she related with the audience so much, I think.
Is this a girl you can go out drinking with?
Or just talk about anything with. Or just someone that really isn't really a Paul, because we don't really see... That's another aspect of this movie that I thought was very interesting. We usually don't see female superhero characters that are down and dirty like that, at their lowest, and just unabashed about that. And just unrelenting and probably unashamed, just not even afraid to really show how they really are in that respect.
Well, she made an unashamed performance. And she was, and I keep saying, is really good in that movie. Just really good as a character.
One of the things that she said was that I believe it was James Gunn that sent her the email. Not that so much she got the part, but that it was announced that she got the part. And
I read that on Wikipedia.
And it was, her perspective was, just going in cold.
Yeah.
So, and I think that when it comes to Greg Gillespie, really made it something that he just moved forward with just about anything, fleshing out the characters and encouraging them to do just a bit more and more and more and more. I will say that, it's understandable if maybe people have certain expectations about it. I hear that. However,
I felt like there were some mistakes. For example, when Kal-El shows up on the computer screen, his name is Clark, right? And then when she's talking to the young girl, she goes, "Oh, that's my cousin Clark." But what I didn't understand, Chudster, was that almost that Clark Kent and Superman are two different people on the planet Earth. That's his cover. But throughout the universe, everybody knows that's Clark Kent. They're the same guy. That was a huge mistake in the movie, I thought.
I don't know about that. I mean, throughout the universe, anyone who comes throughout the universe to Earth, how are they going to be able to relate that to somebody on Earth?
And it's like she's just referring to him as Clark, and even on the video screen.
Right. And where was that? That was off-world. That was someplace in outer space.
I mean, yeah, what else are you going to call him? Like Superman. Hey, Superman.
Exactly.
Hey, Kal-El. But calling him Clark, reveals his true identity on planet Earth.
Darkseid probably, it didn't make a difference whether it was Clark Kent or Superman.
Yeah. And they didn't really say what Supergirl's role on planet Earth was. I went to see it with my mom, who's a movie critic, and she goes, "Does she even have a job?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was thinking that too." So does she walk around with glasses on? Does she also work at the Daily Planet? She work at UPS? I mean, what does she do for a job? Superheroes are just billionaires, and they just sit at home and when they're not fighting crime and watching Netflix.
Well, I think we kind of know a little bit more than that. And if this had been fleshed out, if there was a future for this franchise, we could have found that out. That's why I don't really think that is that much of a big thing. I actually don't think, like I said, I didn't really read too much into it. My perspective was, am I going to have fun watching this?
Yeah.
And to me, that's what this is. It's a film that I'm going to have fun watching. It's not like, once again, films like Morbius or like Jonah Hex. I didn't have fun watching it. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
It sucked. They sucked. I mean, I'm just going to say that. They weren't very good. I actually base this on the principle of the fact that, I got my money's worth. I mean, I watched a film that I had fun watching. I didn't think I had that expectation because this franchise, as long as it's been around, didn't really have the same kind of standards, I think, that Superman had. And we've not really been able to see the evolution on screen or television from when it started up until now to really be able to know that. And I think that the differences are very, very stark because I've never seen the TV series from CBS. So I don't know if that's really any kind of comparison, but that got mixed reviews. And essentially it ran for 5 seasons, which actually isn't really too bad considering that a lot of TV series today, especially on other different platforms, tend to run for an extensive amount of time. That, on the other hand, really didn't. I think that this is probably going to have more of a future with DC Comics within itself. If there's any future of an animated series, or just like you said, it's probably going to be something that she'll probably make a lot of appearances, but I don't really know if it's going to be something that will be continued to the point that we expect, because it is at the end of the day about money. But
well,
I think,
of course, it's only as of now it's made about $79 million.
Right.
With marketing and budget, probably close to $300 million in. So they're going to lose a lot of money on this, Warner Brothers and DC.
Well, they projected that. They expected that. So that actually goes back to the fact that I think it's going to take different forms, especially since a lot of platforms are merging these days. I could probably see that maybe, who knows, it probably would have done better as a series when you want to talk about this. Maybe we could probably be seeing that. So maybe this is just an extension of a bigger franchise that they see afoot. I mean,
of course. I mean, it's like they'll make money on the next Superman film next year called Man of Tomorrow, which is an interesting plot. You know what it's about, right? Superman and Lex Luthor, like, you know, work together to fight Brainiac.
Yeah. A long overdue character.
Wouldn't that have been great to see Christopher Reeve and Gene Hackman like working together in a Superman movie to fight some greater evil? That would have been amazing.
I would go so far as to say that it's a shame that he bowed out of a cameo appearance in Supergirl back in 1984.
And that's why I think they tried to correct that with David Cornsweet.
Yeah.
And the problem I had with his cameo was he didn't serve as an older brother or as a father figure or a mentor. It's like, hey, Car, it's me. You know, just check it in. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
Don't drink anymore. Don't drink anymore now. You know, and the way he looked, it's like maybe I was wrong, but maybe he was like more built in the first movie. You know, because it would be like you and I wearing that Superman suit and just like, you know, waving to the screen.
Maybe they probably could have saved it to the very end. You know,
Yeah.
maybe that.
Well, it wasn't. It was more than a cameo. But I felt like, and I understand why they put him in there because it connects to all the DC universes and Superman and all that, and to overcorrect for Christopher Reeve not being in that Supergirl movie in '84 with Helen Slater. True. But it served no purpose, you know. It's kind of like a fan thing, like, oh, hey, that's him, you know. But other than that, for the story, it didn't serve any purpose.
I mean, I think it really was probably just kind of like dry land swimming, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Dry land swimming. I like that.
Yeah, I think it was a term from Bruce Lee. He said that.
Okay.
Maybe in certain respects, it kind of overdid certain things. But aside from that, though, it pretty much sold me. I can't really think of anything else aside from you, the viewers. If you have anything to say, if you really liked it, if you really didn't,
yes,
please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. All in all, my final thoughts are that basically it was a film that was a good time. Given the history of the franchise, I think this is probably the best that we could probably get. And
what do you mean by that?
It renewed.
That's an interesting question.
It renewed me. It renewed me. It renewed me in the sense that I've always known about Supergirl, and my first exposure was really the film back in '84, and she would always come up in backstories, but I never really saw an evolution on TV or film. And I think that, who knows? I think that there is some kind of life to this, and I think it can go certain places. Your final thoughts, Vlad?
Like I said from the beginning, Chudster, I liked Milly Alcock in it. She was great. I just thought that it wasn't as good a movie that she deserved or the fans deserved. And if you had a good time and you got your money well spent, that's what it's all about. And there are some things that are good with the movie. You know, it's like, I'm a cat lover too. I have cats. So it's like I could totally understand that plot, like doing whatever it takes, going around the universe to save your cats and dogs. Of course. And that's what the John Wick movie's about too.
An emotional token.
Yes, of course.
True. Well, we hope that you like this review. We hope that it gives you a more informed look given the history of the character. And please leave comments. Please like and subscribe. And thank you for viewing this video.
And next up, we will be reviewing The Odyssey. Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey this month.
Oh, I can't wait for that. That's going to be hefty.
Fantastic.
A hefty video indeed.
With the original superheroes.
Oh, yeah. And the original monsters.
Yeah.
Peace out, everybody.
Peace out.